Today we're going to take a look at the preliminary letters before the story of Frankenstein begins. So these letters are important to the story, and we don't really see that at first, but we talked before about this frame narrative within the story. So you have the story of Captain Walton, you meet Frankenstein, which is the doctor, and finally his creation, the monster. This is important to how the story changes and how the plot will unfold throughout the story. Eventually, this will all connect, but in the meantime, I just wanted to kind of go over what's going on in these letters. So, our captain on this journey is Robert Walton. Robert Walton is an explorer. He's a very successful captain of his ship. He's writing to his sister, Margaret Savell. He takes this journey to the North Pole, one, because he wants to make some sort of scientific discovery, and two, because he wants to become a famous explorer. Remember, at this time, many people were discovering new lands, new people, new cultures, and the North Pole had not been explored yet, mostly because it looked like this. The one thing I would like to hone in on is this theme of the exploration of science. This not only appears with Walton, but this appears with Dr. Frankenstein and his desire to reanimate life. In his first letter, we'll kind of just go through each letter. His first letter kind of details him preparing for this journey, his desire to really accomplish something in the field of science. It's the romanticization of science that really comes into play because we have Walton and we also have Dr. Frankenstein, who are so obsessed with discovering something new, with becoming famous. In his second letter, he just kind of describes his crew, obtaining his ship, hiring more sailors. Finally, in the third letter, he writes that he's actually getting close to the North Pole, but they had to sail through a storm to get there. So it's really interesting because by the time you get to the fourth letter, we find out he's stuck in a ship of icebergs. So you can kind of see here, his ship gets stuck and they're trying to pull it out. So if you've ever seen the movie Titanic or heard of the story Titanic, it hits an iceberg and sinks. So this is what they're trying to avoid. On their journey, they see this gigantic figure of a man traveling by dog sled. So if you've ever heard of Iditarod racing, it's kind of like that where you're on a sled and a bunch of dogs are pulling you. But this was not a normal sized man. This was an obscurely large man. But he looked like there was something going on. The next morning, they find another man of normal size, also on a dog sled. So we could assume that he might have been chasing the larger man. But it was interesting because he was able to tell him that, yes, I met this man. He followed the stranger, and he details this journey to his sister.